Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. Today, I'm going to be talking with Jaylynn, and we are going to be able to hear his FI story, and I'm super excited. Hey, Jaylynn, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today, Megan?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Friday, and I'm super excited because I hate my job, so it's good that the weekend's here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, no problem. I guess a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Texas, a little small town in the northwest corner of Texas. And I went to college and got my degree in mechanical engineering back in 2000. And after graduating, got an opportunity to work in the oil and gas business and moved from Northwest Texas all the way down to Southeast Texas near the Houston area. When I moved there, got a chance to really get my career going, and very fortunate, I met my wife who was living there as well. So my wife, she's from Louisiana, and she went to college in the town that I had moved to, and she was a teacher at the time that I met her. The things that I really love about my wife, I would tell you, is three of them. One, she cooks very well. Second, she's tall. I'm 6'3". So she's about 6 foot. So it was great. So from a size compatibility standpoint. So didn't have to make any adjustments as far as on car seats or anything like that. So that's so cool. And the other thing too is she was inspirational as far as on the financial side as well. We were both equally yoked when I started dating her. So watch I'll tell more about. We got married, have two kids, and our oldest is 18 years old and a freshman in college. And we have a daughter who's 16, who's a junior in high school. Through our time when we first met, again, my wife was a teacher when we lived in Southeast Texas. And then just through my career, got a chance to relocate from Texas all the way to Seattle, Washington. And when we did that, my wife stopped working and became, I don't like to use the term stay-at-home spouse. We like to say domestic engineer. So she came and stayed at home with our kids because we had no friends or family in the Seattle, Washington area. So I really thanked her for taking a sacrifice for her career to do that. And when we got there, we really enjoyed that area so much. I tell everybody our kids were born in Texas, but they were raised in Washington, because we got a chance to do a lot of outdoor activities, hiking, biking, go to the mountains, do some sledding during the wintertime. So it was such a wonderful experience. We spent quite a few years there, and then my job transferred me all the way down to the New Orleans, Louisiana area. So went back to the South, to the hot, humid area. But also, if you've ever been to New Orleans, it's definitely different as well. But we really enjoyed our time there. We spent about 4 years there. And then after that, we're now settled here in the Houston, Texas area. We've been here for 4 years now and really enjoy it.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that story. And it's funny, you and I were talking before we recorded about our similarities, and you mentioned your son was going to a school near where one of my parents live. But I'm also seeing similarities that my grandfather was part of the oil and gas, but he was a petroleum engineer, and he moved his family around a lot. And it seems like that's a pretty typical occurrence for oil and gas because my uncle is also in that and he moved around a lot. And so I was curious, is that just part of what oil and gas does? And is that common if somebody gets into that field to move around a lot?
Yes, it is very common. You can go and work at one place or one facility all your career if you choose to. However, it becomes limiting on some positions and availability to move up. So the truth that they tell you is in order to move up, you have to move out. And that's what the company likes. I was a manager when I moved from my first place to Seattle, Washington. And so what they like is managers, leaders come in from different locations, bring different perspectives to the different sites, and also learn as well. And then you take that experience and then you move on to the next location, see if there's an opportunity that you can learn and grow that organization as well as grow your own skill sets, not only from the engineering side, but there's also the leadership side too, how you develop yourself as a person.
Yeah, that makes sense. How did your kids feel about moving around a lot?
You know what? They say they really enjoy it. When we first moved from Texas, our kids were only 2 and 4. So they had no major friends or relationships that they were attached to. So moving to Washington, it was like a fresh start for them. And that's where their true childhood was, where they grew up. Because where we lived in Washington, no poisonous snakes, no fire ants, no alligators. So they never had to know any much about that. Just beautiful hiking trails, just got the mountain view so close to you. And I know people say when you go to Washington, especially Seattle area, it rains a lot. It's a different type of rain. I think they tell you that so people from the South don't move there, because it is actually a nice place to live. One thing about there is, see, in the South, we tend to dress for show with our clothing. There, they dress for comfort. So long as you have the right comfortable clothes on, sometimes it's just some jeans, t-shirt, and a Gore-Tex jacket, you'll just do fine. And then moving from Seattle to New Orleans, they got a chance to see what's it like, not only just from a culture standpoint, but also from a socio-economic standpoint as well. Because that's something that me and my wife want to make sure our kids are exposed to, is all different walks of life. And I think that experience gave them that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I like what you said about how they dress in Seattle versus in the South, because it's very true. And it reminds me of the saying, I think the people in Scotland say, there is no bad weather, just bad clothing choices or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I just think that's really funny. Of course, then I'm like, yeah, but go to Florida where there's hurricanes, and I don't think you can dress for a hurricane. So, yeah, I like that. I have been to Seattle. I was there though during the summer, and where the weather was absolutely gorgeous and it didn't rain once. So I'm not sure I got the rainy Seattle. So, yeah.
Yeah, you came at the right time. Summers are beautiful. Majority of the time, it's just a constant overcast, gray skies, and the rain. It's a constant drizzle up there. So here in the Houston area, we get more inches of rainfall than they do up there. Because when we get rain here in Houston, it's a gully wash. But up there, it's just a constant mist that just goes on and on. And some people, that can get very depressing. So, but if you're able to move past that, you really will enjoy what that area can provide for you.
Yeah, for sure. Was the reason for the moves only because of work, or did you want to live in Seattle? Did you want to live in New Orleans? Did you want to live in Houston?
I would say it was both. One, I always wanted to move up and to grow my skills and move up into leadership. And I'll visit this location only one time when my son was born. And I said, wow, this would be okay if I got a chance and an opportunity to come work at this facility. And even though the homes were much more expensive than the South, I think I can make it work. But I never thought I would ever get that opportunity. And the posting came up, and I said, hey, let me put my name in a hat. So let me go check this out. And when we lived in the Seattle area, we were there for 7 years. And the reason we wanted to make a move back to the South was our kids were getting older, and they only got a chance to see my family members and my wife's family members about every other year. And it's very difficult when you're tucked away in the corner of the United States, getting family to come see you or so. And we said, you know what, let's get back down close to family. That way they can grow up with their cousins and uncles and grandparents now and closer. And the New Orleans area was another area that we never lived in, and said, let's go live there and check it out. But our ultimate goal was we wanted to get to the Houston area as a landing spot because of, we like Texas. We like the Houston area because of affordable place to live, good as far as homes. There are great medical systems, centers, especially as you want to retire here, and great public school districts. I think that's the key right there. Yeah, there's some good private schools, but the public schools are fantastic here.
Yeah, and why pay for a private school when you can just go to a place that has really good public schools? Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing about the Houston area, because it's full of transients, a lot of people move in and out. And they got these great master communities that are full of people that are constantly moving, there's a sense of welcoming. There's a sense of people that, hey, they want to get to know you because they know you're not from here, and you're already quick to bond and have some commonality with your neighbors or so.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was born in Houston, so there's another thing we have in common. I only lived there till I was 8, so I don't really know much about it. All I know is that we lived in a suburb called Friendswood at one point because I just thought it was fun.
I know where Finwood is. It's probably 25 minutes from where we live.
Nice, nice. Yeah. All right. So I would love to get into your money origin story. And I usually lead off with this conversation with what your first or earliest money memory is.
Okay. Well, my first money memory was maybe I was 5 or 6 years old. And what it was is my mom, she would bring me along to go pay bills. So this is back in the days where my mom didn't write checks. She would get money orders. And so for those you don't know, money orders are basically like cashier checks, but they're not distributed from banks, they're distributed from other institutes. And we would go get money orders, and she would show me, hey, this is how you get a money order, and this is what it was, and this is what the bill is for. And she would bring me along, and we go downtown in the city we lived in, and I would go put the money into the deposit box, the payment box, and all those other places. And she would make it a game. She was like, okay, run across the street, see how fast you can go put it back in, put it in there. And that was so fun because it was just me and my mom. We would go out and do that. And that once a month, and after I learned what we were doing, she then started trusting me and said, okay, I need you to go into the store and get this type of money order for this amount. And I would go in and I'd hand the person the money, and I get these money orders, and then we'll go pay bills. And I guess that may sound very cheesy, but that was the time that me and my mother had a great time. She taught me the biggest thing about, hey, when you have bills to pay, go pay it, and go pay it in person. She didn't believe in mailing it. She wanted to make sure that those bills were paid, and they can't sit there and say they never received the payment.
Yeah, that's fun. That was like a bonding moment for you and your mom. Did she ever do any of the newfangled stuff where she has automated pay, or does she use the check payments from your bank where you can go in and say, hey, mail a check? Did she ever start doing that, or did she just always do the money orders?
It was always money orders or cash. So I'm a kid of the 80s. We never got into no auto pay or systems or anything like that. But yeah, it was always about when you go make your payment, pay it with money orders, go pay with cash. But the key thing is make sure your bills are paid. Now that we're older, now we got technology in place, she's all on auto pay now.
Yeah, okay, so she did update it. All right, that's good. I'm glad she eventually started trusting the system. That's good. That's good. So, do you remember how your parents talked about money in your household? And from those conversations, did you glean as a child what quote unquote status your family was? Were you middle class, upper class, lower class in regards to money? And were you aware of it as a child from those conversations?
Great conversation. I guess for one, the way money was talked in my house, it was definitely talked about. One, both my mother and father, they were divorced. However, I live with my mom, but I'm so fortunate. My father, he was really part of my life. He lived in the same city with us. So I would see him as often at a social events, sporting events. I would go spend the night with him on the weekends. I had the fortunate to see two different households, how they handle money and how they talked about money. Like I said, with my mom, she showed me about bills and everything. She was very transparent about that. My father, he was the same way. The thing that I gleaned between both my parents was I would consider us middle class on both households. My father, he made more than my mother. And even though he made more and my mom made less, it felt equal though. I didn't see anything different. So I still had a good childhood. We always had enough food to eat. All the bills were always paid, as you could tell. And my dad would spend money, but it was mainly on value. He wasn't into buying fancy clothes. He wanted to buy good clothes. So he was into buying good suits, but not real expensive suits. It was all about value. And put your money in things that are going to appreciate, and also money into experiences. So it was about having homes and having good vacations. My mother, with what I saw with her is, even though she made less than my father, she was a magician. She was able to take money and do things and make it go as far as you could imagine. Wow. So that's something that I learned from her, is that it don't take a lot to do much with your money if you just do it wisely. And back on my father, I have to say with him also is the fact that they were divorced. What I learned from him was about being responsible, which he was. He always paid his child support, and he showed me, hey, even though me and your mother are not together, I'm still got my responsibility as a father to be there for you and do what's right for you, for me and my sister. So that was good to see from a young man that had that positive father figure in their life.
Yeah, that sounds great. And it sounds like you learned a lot from your parents, some really great things. That's incredible. And so that leads me to ask, how do you think your upbringing from both sides shaped your financial philosophies as an adult?
The first thing is always pay your bills. So that's the first thing. But my philosophy was I really gained so much about, one, make sure you live below your means. Don't overspend your paycheck, and make sure you put some money away and save. So what they showed me was really important. And I would say that was a foundation for my financial knowledge. Now, again, my parents were good parents. Now, they wasn't perfect. They did mention some things about investing, but we never saw that in my life. I didn't see them talking about investing or so. In fact, my taste of investing was, not to go too far, I thought investing was gambling and it's going to put you in a poorhouse. My first experience with investing was I saw this movie called Trading Places.
I love that movie. I love that movie.
It's a great movie. And again, I don't want to tell your audience all the details. Definitely go rent and watch it.
Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers.
No spoilers. But one thing about what the characters were showed me was, hey, if you want to really impact and affect rich people, you figure out how you can make them poor. And how the characters made the rich people poor was making them lose their money on the stock market. And I was like, wow, so it can happen like that. And that's when I said, nah, investing is not my thing. I don't want to touch that because it seems like it's legalized gambling that can hurt you.
When did you learn that investing is actually how you gain wealth? When did you start learning that?
I started learning that at my job when I graduated from college. When I started working, one of the experienced persons at my job came to me. When you're young in your 20s, you're around all these senior folks that want to just have a little chat with you. And this gentleman pulled me aside. He just said, hey, young man, are you investing your money? And I told him, no, I'm not investing my money. That's gambling. I like seeing my money stack in my bank account. When I go pull money out of my ATM, I like looking at that receipt and say, oh yeah, I got a couple $1,000. That to me, what I felt was definition of rich. And he said, so young man, you're telling me you're not putting money into your 401k? And I said, oh yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, I remember doing it. That was something when I signed in with HR and I just filled it out. I said, yeah, okay, yeah. And at the time when I filled out the paperwork, they list all what you can put your money in. I said, let's put it all in everything. And he said, well, you know what, young man? Guess what? You are an investor. And I said, really? So that was a light bulb moment. That was the turning point. Like, okay, since I am an investor, let me go back and see what I really invested in. That's when I really started digging deep.
Yeah. Did you go back and course correct when you were like, oh my God, I'm investing like $1 in every single fund of my 401k?
Actually, I did. And let me just be honest with you. The amount of investment choices we had when I started my job in the 401k was probably about 7 or 8 choices.
Okay. A lot less than today. Yeah, because I'm thinking of the choices I have, and I think there's over 25 different funds you can put it in. And so I was like, that'd be like $10 here, $10 there. So
yeah, so we had 7 or 8, and I just started to put it all. And all I did was started, okay, let me understand what it is, take this choice off, and let me just put more into this choice. And at that point, I said, okay, I feel good a little bit now that I know a little more. But then over time, I started to be more curious about investing. So when my company started having financial advisors or seminars that were scheduled, I signed up. I said, hey, I don't know what I know. Let me go talk to some more people. And I would go to those company sponsored events. I would go on my own to different financial advisors and hear what they had to say. And I just started learning more about what mutual funds are, what's diversification, why mutual funds are a good choice. Really just sharpening my skills a little more and learning. So to me, it was just a eye opener to get me down the path of saying, hey, I need learning more about investing.
Yeah, that's great. And it makes you think if that one guy had not pulled you aside and said, hey, are you investing your money? I mean, I'm sure you would have been fine because you were investing your money technically in your 401k. You did the right thing. But I wonder if he hadn't have pulled you aside, would you have gone and dug into it? Would you have signed up for those seminars? It's just funny how one action from somebody can really kind of shape the course of your life a little bit. So that's really cool. And I think it's inspirational because sometimes we could probably be that for some people. I know I've tried to do that for younger people. I remember at a prior company I was at, we had a Slack channel that was personal finance or something like that. And I definitely went in there. I think there was one young person who was like, what advice do people have for somebody who's 25 and starting their first job? And I was like, read The Simple Path to Wealth. And he read it and he was like, oh my God, Megan, this blew my mind. I'm totally going to do this. And I was like, yay, you're going to retire at 32. So it was really cool because the book speaks to a 25-year-old kid who starts their job. So it was perfect for him. It's just fun to be that person now for people now that we're on the other side, as it were.
Absolutely. I think the fact is once you get yourself educated and knowledgeable, you're so enlightened to go and tell others and make sure that they know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Cool. Okay. So now I'm curious how you found the financial independence movement. And do you remember what drew you to this specific type of financial education? Was it a certain blogger or podcast or a person who introduced you to it? Tell me a little bit about that introductory journey.
Okay, sure. Yes. So as I learned a little more about what I was invested in, then as I met my wife, the thing that also helped make me fall in love with her, when I started dating her, she told me, by the way, I have a budget and I'm investing. I said, you have a budget? And she showed me what she's investing. I said, you know what? I'm marrying you because budgets are sexy. So for us together, we were just constantly investing into our retirement accounts. First thing was max out our own separate retirement accounts, then moved on as we made more money. Let's max out the IRAs, our Roth IRAs. And then we start having kids. Okay, now let's start putting money into a 529 account for each of them. And then as extra more money, all right, let's start a brokerage account. So we were just continuing to invest in all these different accounts over time. And our thought was, okay, I'm going to retire at 59 and a half. And the reason why is because, hey, that's when I can access that money. What happened was, this is 2018. I was 40 years old and in my job, I had a pension. And I was exploring what's the best options that I can do for my pension. Do I want to take the lump sum or do I want to do the annuity payments? And I Googled that and I came across a couple of podcasts. I came across Jill Schlesinger and Roger Whitney, the retired answer man. I started listening to their podcasts and learn a little more. And then those connected to Stacking Benjamins. Then connected to Afford Anything with Paul LePant, then connected to BiggerPocketsMoney and ChooseFI. And then all of a sudden, I'm just going down this rabbit hole because those podcasts are just sharing stories about people that are good with money and how they're retiring early. And I was like, hold on, I like this. These are my people because they like talking about money and they're not ashamed of it. Because I always felt I was an oddball because I enjoyed talking about this, but around colleagues or other folks in my work area, you didn't really talk much about that. It was taboo. or so. There's maybe a few trusted people you can talk to, but it was almost secretive. But all of a sudden, these people just started sharing more. I said, I like these people. These are my folks. And they introduced me to the 4% rule of thumb. And I said, okay, that's awesome. Okay. So once I learned that, I looked at all of our accounts and our balances, and I applied the 4% rule. And I said, oh my God, we're already at FI. That's why I call it being surprised FI.
I love that. I love that. Is there something that drew you specifically to the retiring early part? Was that something you wanted to do? You wanted to quit your job earlier than the normal, or was it more that these people were just talking about money all the time?
It was more the latter. It was more just people talking about money. Their stories just drew me in and that I could relate with. Somebody that's single, somebody that's married, got kids, somebody that are married with no kids, but just their stories just drew me in. And even though I found out we were already at financial independence, I loved my job. I loved it so much. My wife will probably tell you, I talked about my job all the time. I was not seeking for early retirement. And I'd say, yeah, it's great being financial independent, but I love my job and I want to keep working. But it also felt good just to know that you got that option.
Yeah, and I want to dig in a little bit more on that. Why do you feel that you need the option of financial independence if you love your job so much? Because we know that there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't need to be financially independent. I love my job. I'm going to work at it forever. So I'm curious, as somebody who loves their job, but also wanted to attain financial independence, what was your why of FI?
Good question. So I guess I sought out understanding financial independence not to retire early, but it was more of a byproduct of knowing that you already are. Because if I go back, I was really just trying to understand what's the best options for my pension, how I can have a much fatter retirement number to live off of. Yeah, but it was never searching for options. It was just more something I discovered. I do have that option, but I was never seeking it. But once I seeked it, I said, okay, it's good to know, but it's not important to me because I was in a great position. I had a good organization that I'm leading. It was the promotion that I wanted to land, and I felt so good. So again, not trying to ever leave the workforce at the time.
And you say at the time, so are you still working today?
No, man, that's a great question. So again, this is 2018. I was age 40. Things changed. In 2020, we all had the scare around the world with COVID. People were dying. People had to sit at home or work from home. And my kids had to go virtual school as well. It was just not a great time during that period. And also, things had changed at my job. And my job, again, I loved it. But there was things that were taking place, things that I started to see. All of a sudden, that passion, that fire that I had about my job got blew out. So I lost that passion that year. Once I lost that passion, I was going to work, not living, but just existing. And when you're just existing, when you're walking in, you're not putting your all, you're not doing what you should. And I just said, this is not healthy. This is not good for me. This is not good for the organization that I'm leading. And it's not good for the company. So at 2020, that's when I decided I'll pull our numbers together again. I had 2 independent financial advisors take a look at them just to confirm. And they said, yeah, you're still good. You can leave anytime you want. So I said, you know what? I want to work one more year in 2021, and then I'm going to retire at the early part of 2022. And the reason why I wanted to work one more year, because I needed to be a couple of things. I wanted to be financially ready, I wanted to be physically ready, and I wanted to be mentally ready. So from a financially ready standpoint, I wanted to make sure pad our savings a little bit, but also when we was in the New Orleans area, I said we need to move to Texas. If we're going to make this move, now's the time to do it. My oldest, he was in 8th grade, And I said, this would be perfect that he can finish middle school here in Louisiana. And then we get to Texas, he will be able to start high school there and finish out. And my daughter, she was in the middle of middle school. I said, this is perfect for her. She'll be able to transfer into middle school, and socially, she'll have friends in middle school, and she will finish at one high school. So that was part of it too. I wanted to continue working and let them finish school that school year. The other financial piece is when you tend to get a mortgage, I don't care if you have millions of dollars in your bank account or so, banks like to see that you have income coming in. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it could be very challenging. So I wanted to continue working so I can still get a mortgage to buy a house in the Houston area. On the physical standpoint, I went and got myself medically checked. I wanted to make sure that I have all my cancer screening, all my other things medically checked out, make sure that I don't have any ailments. Because the last thing I want to do is leave this job with this great medical benefits, knowing that I got some kind of medical condition. So I was able to get all my checks and screenings, and I came back with a good bill of health. And then on the mental side is I wanted to make sure I'm doing this for the right reason and I'm prepared for this. So what I did was once we sold our house in Louisiana, as soon as the kids' school was over, I got my family moved into Houston in June. And then I continued to work in New Orleans and travel back and forth to Houston every so often. And once I felt good, I said, all right, I gave my 6 months notice to my job in August of 2021. But also I said, I want to take all my vacation that I'm allotted to. So I backloaded all my vacation to the end of that year. And that gave me about a 90-day sabbatical. And having that 90-day sabbatical gave me the option of test driving what retirement's going to be like. And once it's over, I still have the option if I still want to continue working or not. So that 1 year piece helps me get myself prepared mentally with that 90-day sabbatical. At the end of 2021, I said, this is good. I like it. I came back to work in January 2022. I transitioned whatever remaining work that I had to my staff or other folks in my organization. And then come February, I was done. So from finding out at age 40 to retiring at 44, that was the timeline for me. So I've been retired for over 3.5 years now. And I tell you what, it's been lovely. I'm not saying it was perfect. Like anything, when you transition to something new, there's always bumps in the road that you got to go through. But again, I've completed 3 years. I'm on my 4th year now, and I really feel it was truly the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I have so many follow-up questions. So, yeah, okay. So I want to go back to what the catalyst was for you to see your job differently than you did. So what exactly about your job changed so drastically where it made it no longer enjoyable for you?
I just started to see the things that I used to feel was tolerable that I felt no longer was tolerable. Not to go too much, I know I'm speaking very vague, but let's just say there were things that I saw that were taking place, not just in the organization I was leading, but just in leadership period, that really went against my core personal values. And once I saw that, it's hard for me not to ever see that again. And I just said, this is something that I can't be part of anymore, because I'm going to have that pit in my stomach every time I come to work. I just can't see past certain things like I used to. And the other piece is, this is just not my industry. This is all industry. It's really a zero-sum game. In order for others to succeed, somebody or others got to lose. And I'm always come from a place of collaboration. How can we get better together? Yeah, there's some things that I can't do, but I think if we come to agreement that it's best for the organization that we go this route, I'm cool with that. But it became a non-collaborative type of environment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. And then when you were creating your plans to retire, and you said you wanted to be physically ready and you got your checkups and everything, hopefully we'll have a clean bill of health forever. But if you don't, do you have like plans or backup plans in place in case you or one of your family get sick during this time? And a follow on question to that, which a lot of people ask about for people who retire early and don't have healthcare from a job, how did you basically square the idea of getting healthcare on your own outside of a job? Did you just add it to your expenses, or how did that work?
What I had to first get comfortable in understanding that I can always get healthcare no matter what. Because everybody has this thought of when you have a job with good benefits, you don't ever leave that. That's just ingrained. And I can understand why people feel that way. But as I did my research and learning what other healthcare options are available, I became more comfortable that if something does happen, we'll be covered. Especially when I was reading about the Affordable Care Act and all the plans that they offer. Number one, they can't turn you down for pre-existing conditions. So that was a good thing. And the fact that where we was living at in Texas, because it's based off not just the state, but it's also by county. And the county that we were living in, we had a lot of options for different medical plans. And as I researched, all of them said, we will be good from a disastrous standpoint, looking at the deductible and the out-of-pocket max, we got enough to cover those things. I think just researching and understanding what truly medical plans and benefits are out there and also how it can be more affordable. And I learned more about the subsidies and how you can get tax credits to help pay for it later. But I built into, if I had to pay full price of medical insurance out of our savings into our plan. And we said we can cover it.
Yeah, that's super smart. And was that part of your original FI number that you calculated in 2018, or did you add that into the calculation later on when you were revisiting this a few years later?
That was never part of my original FI calculation in 2018. But at that point, though, from 2018 to 2020, by the time I put the plan together, that amount of money had grown so much. So it was like, oh, okay, even with this higher value number, we are definitely good enough to afford this medical plan.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Do you think you'll ever go back to some sort of work? Maybe not what you were doing before, but maybe something different since you retired so young?
Yes. Yeah. Engineering is my expertise. But one thing I did when I was an engineer, I was already doing financial coaching with colleagues and staff members. And the reason I was doing that is because I was pretty good with personal finances, but I was helping folks with budgets, debt management, cash flows. And I always felt if I can help you be better with your money and you're less stressed about that, you would be a better employee for the company. So I did that pro bono as I was working as an engineer. So I said, now that I got this time, let me further go pursue that passion as a financial coach. And so when I retired in 2022, I knew what I wanted to do as a coach. I just didn't know how to do it. And how I did it, would I recommend this to everybody? Absolutely not. But what I did was I started just doing job search, certain job websites, and I got hired with a financial firm, and they told me, hey, you're going to come in and help people out with their finances, help them be better. And I said, okay, great. Cool, I'll sign me up. So I signed up, and then all of a sudden they did a little switcheroo. They said, yeah, you're going to be selling insurance.
Oh no. You're like, no, it's too good to be true. Oh man, no.
But you know what, Meg? I said, I don't know too much about life insurance. I have life insurance, but I didn't know all the details. I said, I'm coachable. Let me go learn. So I went and I spent time getting my life insurance license, and I learned so much about it now. Just getting that schooling and education was just like, wow. And my eyes were a lot open. And then when I started working at this firm, I will tell you right now, it didn't last very long, 6 weeks, because I thought, you know what, this ain't for me. So I did that. And then I went on and found another job. And this one was titled financial coach, but it was just a little different. I don't want to say the name or the type of organization it was because I don't want to potentially come back on me getting lawsuits. But let's just say, since I know what they're about, I want to use what they have to my advantage. What turned me on to go work for this company was I'll come in as an independent contractor. There's no quotas. They let you work your own hours, but they also pay for all your licenses so you can be a financial advisor. And I took advantage of that. And they paid for all my licenses. And I tell you what, getting those security licenses and a financial advisor license, I learned a lot more about the financial industry. Because as an investor, you think you know some things, but you really don't know how the sausage is made until you go and study for those tests. And I learned a lot. But once I got those licenses, then I moved on to another firm that allowed me to really do what I wanted to do, which is I like to do coaching. I like to do planning. And the reason why is because coaching to me is the foundation. It's how you can really get people better with their money, with their budgets, with their cash flow, with their debt. And then once they get to that point and they're confident and they're competent, now you can help them with their investments and point them in the right direction. I got a chance to do advice only. Because to me, the planning is the real piece right there. When you get somebody put into a certain investment and how much they got to do per month, that's easy and that's hands off. But the real fun is when you really kind of get them competent and confident in where they are. Here is where they was at, but now they're down at a different place. And to me, that's more eye-opening. I get more passion from that. I'm really enjoying that now. And I'm doing it not to make a lot of money, because right now I'm not required to hit any quotas. I'm not required to meet certain targets. I still work when I want and coach when I want. And if I make some money, that's great. But if I don't make any money, if I could just inspire others to be better, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, that's quite a journey. And it makes me a little bit wary of these big financial firms that are like, oh, we're going to put you in touch with a coach or a financial something. And then all they do is sell you products. And no, that's not really a coach. So I'm glad that, even though obviously we don't want to reveal the actual company, but that you're revealing that that is a side of this, it definitely might be helpful to some people to really watch out what people are doing. If they start talking about products rather than your plan or what you want out of your life and your money, that's probably a red flag. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Not a problem.
Okay, so 2 more questions about this. Did your wife ever go back to teaching, or is she doing teaching now? And then what else do you guys do now that you don't have to work for money anymore?
Good question. No, when we moved to Texas, she did decide to go back to teach. And let's just say things have changed since she's been in the classroom. So she got a chance when she worked for the school district. They didn't onboard her on time. And school started this date, but she wasn't in the classroom at that date. She's in orientation during a week. And so she didn't get into her classroom with her students until a week after school start. And I just said, this doesn't feel like a good situation you're going in, but I was trying to be a positive, supporting husband. And within 2 weeks, things weren't going well. The school didn't provide her a lot of help, a lot of information, things that she was used to when she worked for the school district back in our previous town. And she decided, hey, I don't have to be here and I'm not going to be here. So she left. She stopped teaching. And so she has pursued her passion as a seamstress. So even as we moved around from Washington State to New Orleans area, she always did like embroidery, t-shirt design, clothes alteration. And so she said, I'm just going to finally start my business. So she started that business 2 years ago, and Megan, it's going real good. She really enjoys it. She has a lot of good clientele that she works with. She doesn't work full time. She works on her time, which I continue to coach her on that. It's just don't make it a full-time job, but it keeps her busy. Every day she wakes up, something that she wants to do. And which is great because at that point when we're here, both our kids are in high school. So not saying they don't need all our attention, but less attention than when it was in the past. It allowed her to get back to what she really likes. So she has her own business and she really enjoys it. I got my financial coaching practice, and between that, just living life and enjoying every day, it's just been great.
Yeah, sounds great. I can't wait.
You enjoy it, but let me tell you something. Live your life now, though. Enjoy the time that you and your husband have because it's going to happen soon. And I tell people financial independence, yes, it's a great milestone, but it's not a destination. Once you get to that milestone, that's just one piece of the mountain that you got to climb. The rest of the mountains that you're going to climb is life. So just enjoy this journey that you're on.
Yeah, I love that advice. It's such good because you can get too caught up in the gotta hit FI, gotta hit FI, gotta hit FI, and I want to quit my job. I want to quit my job. That you start to live in a way where you're so far into the future all the time that the present just passes you by. And then you're like, wait, where'd the years go? I'm 40 now. Oh no. I'm 38. And so I'm like, no, I want to make sure that I remember every single year of my 30s, just like I remember every single year of my 20s. Mostly remember some drunken nights here and there that I don't remember, but that's okay. And it'll be the same for my 40s. I want to remember every year, and I don't want to have years where I'm just trying to get through it. So yeah, I really like that advice a lot. And I would love to know for right now in your current life, what are some of your current challenges that you're going through, and what are some of your current wins that you have that you can share with us?
No problem. I think early on, as I moved into FI and early retirement, I think all of us experience spending more because we felt you don't want to run out of money so soon. But me and my wife, when we started on our first year of retirement, we saw how even though this is what we spent in the past, what our historical spend was, that doesn't necessarily dictate how we got to spend for the future. We didn't work hard to not spend the way we want to, so let's do it. And we started spending more, and it's been great. It's been fantastic doing that. So the first struggle was just having the confidence and ability to spend more. The other struggle that I had to get through was establishing relationships because there's not many others that you find in the space, at least in your community, that are early retired. And so how do you have the dialogue? And I'm not saying I'm only searching for people that are early retirement, but just really finding people just to be friends with to do things because they're still working or they're still got other priorities where you got all this free time. But getting a chance to just join the local ChooseFI group here in the Houston area has been great. Met some good people, and we've get together every so often outside the standard monthly meeting and just for having meetups just to see how we're doing. That's been very helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So would you say that's part of your wins, or do you guys have some wins as well that you want to share?
Let's say I got a lot of wins, so you have to kind of hold me back a little bit.
Okay.
Look, I would say this. Let's speak from a financial standpoint of win. So this year, I had a checkup with our financial plan, and my advisor, he looks at our numbers and he said, look, you're doing pretty well. You got a high, over 90% chance of success of your plan. You're doing good. What are your concerns? And I just told him that the only thing I'm concerned about is we're currently living off our taxable bucket savings that we have in our brokerage accounts. And we're over 3.5 years in. I just want to make sure it's going to last us until I'm 59 and a half. So my advisor did something brilliant. But first was weird. He opened up our financial plan and he removed all my brokerage accounts balances out of our plan and he re-ran them. And I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on? And he just showed if you had to live off nothing but your tax deferred accounts and your Roth accounts. And we looked at this plan, Megan. This had me showing that I'm going to be having all these early withdrawal penalties and taxes. But guess what? Even though this plan was the least inefficient plan, it was still effective. It was a 94% success rate.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that he did that because people are so, oh, but I don't want to pay more taxes or more fees or whatever. And honestly, if you can get past that, you're probably going to die with way more money than you need anyway. Why not? If that's what's keeping you from doing what you want to do or like living with less stress, not worrying about running out, come on. Yeah, I love that he did that. That's awesome.
He did that all of a sudden, and the delta between the optimum plan that I had and the effective plan, you're looking at only a 5% difference from 99% to 94%. But I've been stressing about that so long. And all of a sudden I said, why am I stressing? It's still effective. So that stress just went off my head. And I was like, man, that's a big win. Got off the phone. I told my wife, I said, babe, we're going to be fine. I'd say the other win, though, this is on the personal side, was winning with my family. Okay. Because I got a chance to retire early, I really got a chance to improve the relationship with my wife. Because even though we have a good marriage, it's not perfect. And when you work a lot and then you come home, you don't have that much time, and whatever issues or challenges that you have, work tends to cloud that. All of a sudden you got to spend 16 hours awake with this person. Now that stuff is coming, and we had to go deal with some of our challenges because she had a different viewpoint of what my early retirement is going to look like. I had a different view than she did. And the fact that we got a chance to address that now, while we're still in our 40s, while we're still got kids at home, our relationship has just improved so much because there's a lot of divorces that are going on. And I'm just glad we got a chance to work that out. And also with my wife, she got a chance to attend her first FI event with me recently. I got a chance to speak at another ChooseFI group session in Austin, Texas. Shouts out to Sandy Coco and that group, good people. And that was the first time she's ever attended an FI event, her and my daughter. And she was so amazed and so happy that, wow, these are some nice people. She really enjoyed it. It was just so gratifying that she got to experience what I've been experiencing, because I've been going to all these FI events and she's always supported me going, but she's never attended. But the fact that she got a chance to see that, and she just felt so good. And that to me was one big win.
It's incredible. Love it.
My last win, I would say, is with my children. So one of the reasons why I wanted to retire early is I wanted to have this time with my kids while they're still children, because they'll always be your kids for the rest of their life, but they're only young for so long. And I just got a chance to be more available for them. So instead of having work on my mind when I'm at home with them, I give them all the undivided attention. And like my daughter, she would come home and tell me so much stuff about what's going on with her school, what's going on with her friends. It's just amazing. So we just got a chance to improve our relationship. And part of the reason I feel it really improved was this past summer, I got an employment opportunity thrown at me to go work as an engineer for a different company. And I told my whole family about it. And my daughter stood up and said, does this require you to be gone and not work from home? Yeah. Well, I don't want you to go. I want you to be here. I've loved the fact that you're here. I love that you're available, and you're a different person, Dad. So no, I'm not supporting you going back to work. But if you do want to go back to work, you got to wait till I graduate from high school, because I want to enjoy this last time with you.
He's awesome. Yes, do it. Tell your dad. I love that. That's amazing.
My son, him and I got a chance to get closer together. And for Father's Day, he gave me this card right here. And this card, I would call it a special card. He always a jokester. He always has all sorts of some funny jokes, funny cards. But in this one was so special. He wrote this message to me. And I don't want to read word to word because I probably start to cry and everything. But I'll just tell you some things that he said. I am so glad God has brought us closer together these past few years. It's been truly a blessing to create all these memories. You are truly my best friend, my number one supporter, and I'm so thankful to have you beside me. I'm not ready to leave my best friend as I go off to college. It truly won't be the same not seeing you every day and getting that daily laugh from you. I will miss you so much. I hope you had a wonderful Father's Day. I love you, Dad. So,
I'm not crying, you're crying. Oh, that's great.
and why I say to me, those wins were so important with my family. I'm winning with the right people. I'm winning with the people that matters. I won with corporate America. I enjoyed it. With corporate America, they like you when you're hot and they'll drop you when you're not. And I'm doing it with the right people that matters right now.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I teared up a little bit at that. Not gonna lie.
I'm telling you, when he gave me that card and those words, I just started bawling. I started bawling, but I'm still trying to keep it together right now. So that's why I keep that card with me where I go somewhere.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Okay, Jaylynn, we are close to the end of our time, but before I let you leave, I always promise our audience that they get a life hack recommendation or learning from our guest so that they can take away something actionable. So what do you got for us?
I give 2 hacks if I can, or learnings. So I would say when it comes to investing, we want to search for perfection, but we're not making progress. And what I mean by that is we're looking for that perfect investment. And sometimes when it comes to investing, it's not searching for that perfect investment. It's really just investing, just get started. I'll tell you, we generate all our wealth and got to FI by investing a little bit in real estate, but mostly mutual funds. And the mutual funds that we use were actively managed mutual funds. Yeah, y'all gonna chop up my FI card because I say that because that goes against index funds and everything. But those were the investments that were available to me at the time, and that's all I knew. So I didn't start with the perfect investment. I just started investing with what I had. And over time, now that I know about index funds, we've been shifting over to the index funds. But my point being is, it's all about progress. It's not about perfection. Don't let perfection be the enemy of progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love the life hack is when it comes to how much you want to spend or what you want to withdraw, don't get fixated on one number. Don't get fixated on the percentage. Have some flexibility in your withdrawal plan because it's going to change. Because I talk to people, they're like, I only want to spend this much per year. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to spend that much. You're either going to spend a little bit more or you're going to spend a little less. So to save yourself the stress, just go into early retirement or whatever, just with some flexibility. And that flexibility is going to pay off in dividends big time because you're not so fixated on one number.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of that. Definitely. And yeah, it's very easy to get caught up in the mistakes that we made when we didn't know what we know now, but you didn't need to worry about it. Most people, the only way they really learn about financial independence or even just finances in general is because they made a mistake or several. So that's how you learn, right? Yeah, I love all of that advice. It's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Jaylynn. This was a really fun conversation. I had a great time and I loved your story. I'm sure so many people will relate to it. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a quick rating. Also, hit up my Patreon at patreon.com/everydayfipodcast for ad-free and bonus content. I'm Megan Combs, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Fi.